6:18 a.m. Eastern Mediterranean international waters. The sea was calm, almost unnaturally so. A pale sunrise stretched across the horizon as the U.S. Navy carrier strike group moved steadily through open waters, its formation precise, disciplined, and unmistakable. At the center of it all was the aircraft carrier USS Sentinel, nuclear-powered, heavily guarded, untouchable, or so it was believed. 6:20 a.m., red line defined. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, glowing displays tracked every contact within hundreds of miles. Surface ships, aircraft, subsurface echoes. A circle pulsed faintly on the screen. The red line, not a border, not territorial waters, a security perimeter, a final buffer zone around the carrier where intent mattered more than legality. Cross it without permission, and the response was immediate. 6:22 a.m. First anomaly. The calm broke quietly. Contact Sierra 7 just altered course, the radar officer said. The tactical action officer leaned forward. Russian? Yes, sir. Frigate-sized, armed. The contact had been shadowing the strike group from a distance for hours. Now it was turning in. 6:24 a.m. Russian warship identified. The ship's profile sharpened. A Russian guided missile warship, bristling with sensors and launch cells, pushing forward at increasing speed. It wasn't transmitting intense signals. It wasn't responding to bridge-to-bridge calls. It was heading straight toward the carrier's protective ring. 6:26 a.m. First warning. The U.S. carrier group responded calmly. A destroyer peeled off, sliding into an intercept path. Radio channels opened. Russian warship. This is U.S. Navy vessel operating in international waters. You are approaching a protected formation. Alter course immediately. No response. The Russian ship continued forward. 6:28 a.m. The red line crossed. The warship crossed the perimeter. 1 nautical mile, then 2. Alarms did not blare, but posture shifted instantly. Weapons crews moved to stations. Missile cells powered up. Aircraft on the carrier's deck were halted mid-prep. The line had been crossed. 6:30 a.m. Escalation without words. The Russian ship made its intentions clearer. Fire control radars activated briefly. Just a pulse. Enough to be detected. Enough to be understood. Inside the carrier's CIC, the room went silent. They just painted us. That wasn't an accident. That was a message. 6:32 a.m. America responds quietly. The response was immediate but controlled. 2 U.S. destroyers adjusted position, flanking the Russian vessel. Above, FA-18 fighters launched without ceremony, climbing into a wide defensive arc. An E-2 Hawkeye rose next, its radar sweeping the sea and sky. The carrier itself never changed course. It didn't need to. 6:35 a.m. Close pass. The Russian warship pushed closer. Too close. Its deck guns trained, not aimed, but aligned. Missile hatches remained sealed, for now. The destroyer captain issued a final warning. You are inside a protected U.S. naval formation. This is your final notice. Silence answered. 6:37 a.m. Tension peaks. On the carrier, pilots stood frozen beside armed jets. Below deck, missile crews waited on command. Above, American fighters streaked low over the Russian ship. Fast, loud, unmistakable. A demonstration, not an attack. Yet, 6:39 a.m. Unexpected move. Then the Russian warship did something no one expected. It accelerated. Straight toward the carrier's outer escort, range closing fast. This was no longer posturing. This was a deliberate challenge. 6:41 a.m. Decision time. Inside the carrier's CIC, the strike group commander spoke calmly. Authorize response package. That single sentence triggered a cascade. Missile systems went to hot standby. Fire control solutions were generated. Target locks were prepared, but not activated. America was responding, carefully, precisely. 6:43 a.m. Cliffhanger. As the Russian warship surged forward, a new contact appeared on radar. Fast, low, unidentified. And from the carrier's deck, a launch crew received an unexpected order. Prepare aircraft, not for intercept, for something else. The red line had been crossed, and the response was about to change the balance of the encounter. A Russian warship crossed a U.S. carrier's red line. Warnings failed. Signals were ignored. And now America was about to respond, not with words, but with action. 6:44 a.m. Eastern Mediterranean escalation zone. The sea no longer felt calm. It felt measured. Every wake, every radar sweep, every radio silence now carried intent. Inside the USS Sentinel's Combat Information Center, dozens of eyes tracked the same thing. The Russian warship accelerating inside the carrier's protective screen. The red line had been crossed. Now the clock was running. 6:45 a.m. America's response takes shape. The order issued moments earlier began to reveal its meaning. On the flight deck, crews moved with controlled urgency. Not frantic, not rushed. 2 aircraft were being prepared, but not the ones anyone expected. Not fighters, not bombers. Instead, a pair of electronic warfare aircraft rolled forward, wings folded out under the rising sun. This wasn't about firepower. It was about control. 6:47 a.m. Russian bridge tension. On the bridge of the Russian warship, officers watched American aircraft circle overhead. The captain remained silent, eyes fixed forward. American aircraft are holding pattern, an officer reported. Destroyers maintaining intercept geometry. The Russian ship was deep inside the security envelope now. Every move was being measured. Every system was being watched. 6:48 a.m. Electronic pressure begins. Without warning, the Russian warship's radar picture flickered. Not gone, just unstable. Targets smeared, range data lagged, tracking confidence dropped. The electronic warfare aircraft hadn't fired anything. They hadn't jammed outright. They were probing, testing, letting the Russian crew know that every sensor they relied on could be touched without a single shot fired. 6:50 a.m. A calculated silence. U.S. destroyers held position. Missile cells remained closed. Fire control radars stayed cold. The carrier never altered course. That was the message. We don't need to move for you. 6:52 a.m. Russian escalation attempt. Then came the countermove. The Russian warship activated its own electronic systems. American sensors detected it instantly. A brief surge of emissions, targeting quality. Just for a second, enough to prove capability, enough to signal intent. Inside the carrier's CIC, they're pushing back. The strike group commander nodded once. Understood. 6:54 a.m. America tightens the net. The response was layered. Subsurface contacts repositioned. Quietly, U.S. submarines that had been passive for hours adjusted depth and bearing. The Russian ship didn't see them, but it felt them. Subtle pressure waves, acoustic inconsistencies, the uneasy sense of being surrounded without knowing how. 6:56 a.m. The moment of maximum tension. The Russian warship slowed, then stopped. Inside the red line, inside the kill zone, no weapons fired, no missiles armed, but no retreat either. For 30 seconds, the entire formation held its breath. This was the most dangerous moment because nothing was happening. 6:57 a.m. America makes its point. Above the formation, an American fighter broke from orbit and descended rapidly, low, fast. It passed directly over the Russian warship, close enough to rattle equipment and crew alike. Not an attack, a demonstration. Immediately after, the electronic interference ceased. Radar stabilized. Systems normalized. The message was unmistakable. We can blind you. We can stop. And we can start again whenever we choose. 6:59 a.m. Russian command reevaluates. On the Russian bridge, the captain finally spoke. Signal Fleet Command. The report was brief. Carrier group fully postured. Electronic dominance confirmed. Subsurface threats suspected. The reply came moments later. Short, measured. Avoid escalation. 7:01 a.m. The withdrawal begins. The Russian warship's engines reversed thrust. Slowly, deliberately, it began backing out of the carrier's security perimeter. No sudden turns, no dramatic maneuvers, just a controlled retreat. The red line was being uncrossed. 7:03 a.m. Stand down, not relax. American forces did not disengage immediately. Fighters stayed airborne. Destroyers maintained position. Submarines remained where they were. Trust would come later. For now, distance mattered. 7:06 a.m. The red line restored. The Russian warship cleared the perimeter. 5 nautical miles, then 10. Only then did posture begin to ease. Aircraft peeled away one by one. Electronic warfare platforms returned to the deck. Missile crews stood down, but no one celebrated. 7:12 a.m. Aftermath at sea. The carrier strike group resumed course as if nothing had happened. The ocean returned to quiet, but everyone on board knew the truth. That morning, the difference between peace and conflict had been measured in minutes. Hours later, strategic fallout. Public statements were carefully worded. decided unsafe proximity, professional conduct, international waters. Privately, both sides exchanged urgent communications. No one wanted to test that red line again. Final assessment: a Russian warship crossed a U.S. carrier's red line. America did not fire. America did not retreat. America responded with precision, restraint, and overwhelming control. And the message was clear to anyone watching. Some lines exist not to provoke war, but to prevent it. Closing words. That day, the sea did not burn. No missiles flew. No ships were lost. But make no mistake, history still shifted, because when the red line was crossed, America answered, and the world noticed.